Greetings, everybody. It is I, obviously Jesus, here with the first video for Patreon for the month of February 2018. Yes, right in the mouth, Jesus Christ. But anyway, as I was saying before I was very cutely interrupted, today's video is, it is the first video of February, right? Yeah, first video of February, and we're going to be talking about a prompt from Double, who asked me to expand upon the idea that I put forth in one of my previous videos that I really can't seem to conceptualize what it will be like to be an old person. Like, I think when I was talking about it, I said that I really don't know what it would be like to be like a 50-year-old person. I have no idea what 50-year-old me looks like compared to, I could probably, if I had gone back, and asked myself this question 10 years ago, I probably could have figured out, I probably would have had some idea of what I would have been like at 25. But now at 25, I find it really, really hard to imagine what it would be like to be a 40-year-old version of me, or even like a 50, 60, 70-year-old version of me. And I've never really been able to conceptualize, where are you going? Where are you going? She always leaves. But I've never really been able to conceptualize what it will be like to be just that old, like a septuagenarian or something. And so yeah, he asked me to talk about my thoughts on this and sort of expand upon this idea a little bit, and that's what I'm going to hope to do today. This video will be a little bit less, organized than most videos because it's not scripted. I don't have my notes or anything. I just have a doggo. I just have a doggo right here. You probably can't see her because she's under the table now with her strawberry. Come up here, Maya. Up. There she goes. All right. But yes, here's my dog. You want to buy some? I've made this joke like 5 million times now, but you want to buy some CS:GO skins? But yes, look at this. But yes, in all seriousness, yes. I look like an evil villain now or something, like a Bond villain. Got my my doggo here. But yeah, I really don't know what it'll be like to be a 50-year-old version of me, and that's what today's video is going to be about. So anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. First and foremost, I don't even know that I will necessarily even be alive at that point, because for those of you who don't know, and despite what you might be seeing right now, and you might be thinking my life is pretty great, because I got a big puppy who just comes and lies down on my lap. But my life is not particularly great. I'm not in a place where I could see myself sustaining this type of lifestyle for a particularly long time. I actually made a list the other day of all the things I do, and really all I do is eat, sleep, shit, take care of this doggo right here, and go to therapy. And that's pretty much the week in, week out cycle of my life. And I'm just not living with any particular goal. So it is sort of puzzling to me how I might make this into something that can last decades and decades and decades, because without going into too much detail about my personal life, I really don't have any prospects for the future. As I've talked about in previous videos, I really have no desire to, go to work at any kind of regular job. I don't think I'd be able to do it, because I think I would, at the end of the day, just ultimately get frustrated with some authority figure and probably leave the job, which is what happened at the only time and the only job I've ever worked in my entire life. So, I have no drive to go to work or do anything like that. And I have no drive to go back to school and get myself educated. As I talked about, I think in the very last video or the one before that, I don't really think that it's, cost beneficial to go to work, or go to school again and get educated, because the joy or the benefit education would bring to my life is not equivalent to the amount of time and amount of stress I would put myself through getting educated. I don't know if I've ever talked about this either in the Patreon videos or the YouTube videos that I used to make. But when I was in 11th grade, those of you who are dying for that personal OJ story time, here it is. When I was in 11th grade, right before that, I procrastinated on all my summer reading and my summer homework for all my AP classes. I was taking a bunch of them. You were trying to leave? Are you trying to leave? But no, I was trying to procrastinate, as I always did, on my summer assignments for my AP classes with advanced placement, for those of you who don't know or who are in a different country where they don't call it that. But so I was doing that as usual, and then I just couldn't do it. I just hit a wall where I could not get it all together. I don't know. I forget what was going on at that point in my life. Probably nothing too severe. But at that point, I just became unable to do what I was doing. And I sort of just had a complete and total, complete and total kind of mental breakdown. I stopped going to school, and ultimately I wound up switching schools because I couldn't just bring myself to face the sort of circle of, friends and teachers that I had built up until that point. I couldn't bring myself to face them. And so I wound up skipping the first half of 11th grade, switching schools, and because I have missed so much school, I technically had to go to truancy court, which is where you go if you are like a chronic, like a school skipper or something. Obviously, I had no problems there because, was she just sniffing my microphone? I think she was. But obviously, I had no problems there, but it ultimately led to this big disillusionment of me with education, whereas previously I had identified or like really put my identity into my performance in academia, I completely lost that by the time I got to my senior year of high school, and basically never got it back. Like I have no desire to ever take another test, to ever write another essay about something I don't care about. I have such a strong aversion to it that I truly, truly believe that going back to school would overwhelm me with just all these things that I am so much happier genuinely without. And that terrifies me. The idea that, it's a choice between going back to school and, maybe having a job one day, which, I don't think is going to give me any great pleasure either. Because, I'm so late in the game now. I'm 25. Like, most people graduate high school or college rather at 21 or 22, and then they go into either employment or they go into like an advanced degree program, like a PhD or something. But I'm so late in the game, and honestly, at the end of the day, I just don't want to be tested. Like I said, I never want to take another test. I never want to see another, I don't know, was it an interim report that they give you in university? I forget what they're called now. It's so far behind me. But those things put so much stress on me. And looking back, after, I don't know, some point in high school, I really don't think those things really brought any value into my life, considering how much effort I put into them, trying to achieve them and thinking about those things. So the whole point of this, I've gotten quite off topic now, is the idea that there's really no pathway forward for me in life. There's no desire or drive to go to school or get a job and maintaining those things. And that leads me back to the main topic of this video, which is that I don't know what you can do with a life that is this empty. And I feel somewhat trapped because my life is admittedly quite empty. I think I listed off the 5 or 6 things that I actually do on a regular weekly basis. And those weeks, of course, turn into months, turn into years, etc., etc., and will soon turn into decades. But I feel trapped because I don't want to do anything else, but I don't know that this will stimulate me to the point where she's picking up her toy and dropping it, I think, just to get my attention. Yes, I see you. I don't think that the current path I'm on, the current loop I'm in rather, will stimulate me to the point where I will have a satisfying life that I will want to sustain for years. And it does lead me to the question of whether or not I might have to at some point make a true reevaluation of myself and my life and my trajectory, because really, if I can't muster the gumption. I fucking hate the word gumption, but if I can't get the gumption, look at this face. I just love this face. But if I can't get the gumption to go back to school or get a job or anything like that, then it basically precludes me from having a family or anything, because who wants to be with somebody who can't support them? And I wouldn't want to be with somebody who like contributes nothing either. I mean, maybe I could find a rich woman to take pity on me, and I could just be a stay-at-home dad or husband or whatever. I don't think I'd be a good dad, because I know antinatalism and all that, but maybe she'd have previous children from a previous relationship, whatever. Anyway, this is all hypothetical and doesn't really matter. But where was I going with that? I honestly forgot. The face wiped my mind. But yes, I don't have the gumption to get a job or go back to school, and I don't think that I can sustain this that long. So there may come a point at which I genuinely have to reevaluate my trajectory, as I said. And honestly, if there's no work, there's no school, there's no relationship, and life as it stands is too unbearable with just the complete lack of new stimuli, then it does worry me that there may come a point, not anytime soon, I can definitely sustain this for another 10, 15 years, but there may come a point between ages 40 and 50, I could imagine very easily, where I have to reevaluate and come to the conclusion that, it might become so dreadfully boring and the other alternatives so unappealing for whatever reason, that I might again consider, punching my own ticket, so to speak. And I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to imagine that, because, on one hand, I feel like, for those of you who don't know, I'm very much still hurting over a relationship that I lost many years ago. Not many, many years ago, but like 5 years ago at this point. And, on one hand, I feel like internally I have this sort of infinite engine that can keep going and keep this hope alive for myself and for this relationship, and keep that going for years and years and years. But then I also have days that, point out the little cracks in that facade, where I basically have to admit to myself that my life, apart from the puppy sitting over there behind the camera, you can probably hear sniffing her butt, my life is pretty dull. My life is, she's not my dog even. It's not my dog, it's just somebody's dog that I take care of a couple times a week. So I really don't have anything of my own in my life. I have no family, I technically have family, but I don't feel close to them. That's something that's just pre-existing that I never really had. Or maybe I did when I was a kid, but that's really neither here nor there. It hasn't been that way in a long time. But I have no family, I have no pursuits, I have no goals, I have no job or education, I have no direction, basically, is what I'm trying to say here. And consequentially, there are days where I wonder how long I can continue directionless. And, it might come to a point where I have to reevaluate my opinion on staying alive. And I don't want this to be like some big cry for help. This is not what that is. Again, I don't think this will happen in any time in like the next 15 years. I definitely think I can make it to 40 as I am. But I think that around that time, I will have to sort of reevaluate and sort of think about how to proceed, whether that's to stop existing or to make a radical change. But honestly, my capacity for radical change is already extremely, extremely low now at this young age, relatively speaking, even though I feel pretty old a lot of the time. But so I don't know that I will be able to do that at an age that is, almost twice what I am now at 40. So I really don't know what it's going to look like at that point in my life. And it does sort of worry me, and I do think that's part of the reason why I really can't conceptualize myself as an older person, because, when you try to think about yourself as an older person, you take I mean, a normal person who has like a job and goals and shit, they would just take where they are now and see like, oh, well, here's my career path. It could go this way or this way. I want it to go this way. And people have mechanisms subconsciously, like even without thinking about it or without even being asked the question, people have in their brains, kind of generally speaking, a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan and a vague idea of where they might end up, 20, 30 years down the line based on what they value and where the career can take them, etc. And I don't have that. It's just a big fucking blank. And part of me does worry that it's because my life will become so boring and I will cease to be able to maintain this, this engine inside of me that keeps me going on a day-to-day basis. I will cease to have that. It will just wear out. The notion that it's infinite will wear off, and I will find myself basically struggling to do anything, do even the very few things that I actually managed to do. And that is one of the things that worries me, because there's this big, beyond age 40 for me, there is just this big blank void that is unknowable and unseeable, and I don't know what awaits in there. Maybe I won't, maybe I'll get hit by a bus. Who fucking knows? Like, I'm not planning to, off myself anytime soon, but I don't know. I don't know where my limit is, but to imagine myself still doing these same 5 or 6 things that I do on a weekly basis at age 50 or 60, like my therapist will be dead by then. I'll have to get a new one. But to imagine myself doing these same things, it's like, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, part of me honestly just wants to hook myself up to a happy simulation and just fall asleep and stay in there until my physical form expires. That seems like a preferable alternative to my current life, because, I have so few things. I have so few things that bring me any kind of joy. And even when I come to see this puppy, I still have to wake up and drag myself out of bed and shower, and just like sometimes the day-to-day minutia of life that you have to do to just get up and get dressed and get out of bed and leave the house, like that sometimes seems almost to me too much. Like, it's just so exhausting. If I had to do this every single day of the week, it would be I would have to stop. I would go mad. Not only because I have major OCD about leaving my house and leaving this house or leaving basically any other place, but yeah, it gets pretty exhausting, and so I really do question where I might be at age 40. Like 5 years from now, I'll still probably be in the same place, living, just doing these same few things. 10 years, 15 years from now, most certainly. But, and I hope in those 15 years, my environment changes, or I'm, with it, my little amount of energy that I still have, able to make some kind of positive change in my life, or in sort of recapture my relationship, or I don't know, find something non-relationship related that brings me some kind of joy that is my own, rather than a puppy I see every so often. Because I do love this puppy, but it's not like, I mean, I do feel like she's my child in a way, but I mean, one day I'm gonna have to move away. I can't stay here forever. I can't stay here forever. And the truth of the matter is, I mean, as much as I love this face, it is not mine. It is not like mine in the way that, having my own pet or relationship, not to compare those two directly, but they are things you both love. But yeah, I don't really have anything of my own, and hopefully in the next 15 years that will change. But I don't know how you change that when you're already in a place like me. Like I feel like I've locked myself so securely in where I am that it's impossible to get out. It's sort of a catch-22 type situation. Because how am I even supposed to meet new people? How am I supposed to meet new people when you're my age? You basically only meet people through like friends of friends and your job, and if you're still being educated through that. I mean, I have none of those things. I am so cut off. Like, the only people, I mean, as far as I can tell, the only people you really know are, the people you work with, the people you went to school with, and the people you went to, like, high school with that you still keep in touch with if you decide to do that for some godforsaken reason. But yeah, I mean, I don't have any of those things. And then you meet people through your friends of friends, but you have to have. I have no friends. I don't have a like. I mean, Maya's owner is my friend, I guess, but it's not like we have a close relationship. I'm basically an employee, and I don't know. I'm sorry for rambling. Like I said, there's no script or notes for this video. I'm just kind of going off the top of my head. But yeah, I do think that at some point in the next 15 to 25 years, I will have to reckon with that big blob of nothing and trying to get myself once and for all out of this sort of depressive cycle. Because I mean, some days, like I said, I feel like I'm an infinite engine that I can just go forever and sustain myself and my lost love and everything until until time immemorial, like that Magnetic Field song, It's Only Time. But some days I feel like one day it just might become too much to bear. And I don't know that when that happens, or if that happens, hopefully if, I don't know that if that happens, I'll be able to have anything else in life to turn to, because I don't now, and I don't necessarily see myself getting any better on that front. I think it's just gonna sort of either stay the same or gradually, slowly, very minutely get worse and worse as time goes on. So, anyway, I've rambled probably long enough for one day on this topic. I hope it gave you the illumination that you hoped it would. Double, double, whatever, however you pronounce your name with the double zeros. But yeah, I hope this is a bigger exploration of that feeling and how I came to be here and what I think might ultimately result in, and why I can't picture myself as an old person. If I had to do that, I don't know, I think I'd probably just be very, very old and sad and fat, because my goddamn metabolism, like right when I came back from Europe and I turned 25, like holy shit, I can't lose weight anymore. I can't maintain my weight anymore. It's terrible. It's terrifying. But yeah, if I do survive to be like an octogenarian or something, I'll probably be just a fat, depressed, curmudgeonly old man who lives alone in an apartment on subsidized housing or something and just yells at kids to get off his lawn, even though he doesn't have a lawn because he's living like on the 5th floor of some apartment complex full of old and disabled people. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like something's going to change before then. I feel like beyond 40, something has to give before then, and it can give in a good way, and it can give in a bad way, and I will just stop existing. But I don't know. I don't know. I mean, if there's one thing I'm good at, it's maintaining the status quo. So maybe I will just truly stay like this forever. And the reason I can't see myself past 40 is because I will make no meaningful changes whatsoever beyond that age or beyond this one. So I don't really, of course, as this is a speculative video, I don't really have any kind of concrete solutions or answers. This was just me rambling and doing sort of like a stream of consciousness thing about this topic and about everything surrounding, how I got here and where I might go next. But yeah, I have no concrete idea of anything, because I've lost even the capacity to imagine how anything could change beyond this, beyond, my unrealistic hope of lost love coming back and embracing me and all that nonsense. But still gonna wait for that. And I don't know. One day, I feel like I'm sorry I'm doing this, but I feel like I'm doing the thing where I'm like rubbing up against something I really want to say to cap off the video and make a really nice point, and I'm just not getting there. I feel like that's happening right now, and it's really pissing me off. This happens a lot when I don't do my notes or anything, but yeah, I don't know where my life goes from here. I feel like I have at least 15 more years of just status quo in me at the very least. And beyond that, there will be, I'm sure, just this kind of galvanizing moment sometime where I will just have to say, I'm going to keep doing this forever. I'm going to quit life, or I'm going to, I don't know how this would even begin to happen, but I will say, well, now I, I'm going to change, because, you know, my entire life is basically an application of the sunk cost fallacy, where you just keep throwing, you know, good resources after bad, in this case, time. But yeah, I mean, I like it. It's comforting. It's more like I did try, admittedly, I'm ashamed to admit this, I did try like a couple online dating things for a few months, but, you know, I realized that my pain that I go through on a day-to-day basis is, you know, far preferable to the pain of just the uncertainty and being rejected by people. You painstakingly, you know, write out a message that you think will appeal to another person, but you don't know, and you send it into the ether, and they read it, and then they never respond to you, or they just ghost you after talking for a little bit, or you meet them and you just feel no connection. And so I quit all that bullshit a while back. So I don't know. And that's kind of a dangerous thing, but I suppose, I mean, it's probably not what any therapist would recommend, to just quit trying the one way that people who are recluses can still meet new people and, you know, get this important relationship thing that's supposedly what I want in life. But, you know, I mean, my pain is familiar and manageable, and in a way comforting compared to all the new ways that I might be hurt if I go out in the world. So I'm just going to stay in this little cocoon for as long as I can, and that's all I know. And that's going to be the end of me rambling, because I don't really have anything else unique to say. But anyway, I'm obviously Jesus. I will see you next week in the second video for February 2018. Hopefully my camera kept recording and my microphone didn't take a shit. So yeah, see you later.